Afghan and Pakistani diplomats say they want the agenda of the three-way talks to stick to trade and ways to stop drug trafficking. But Mr. Ahmadinejad, looking to garner support as tension rises with Israel, may well have different ideas, says press reporters. Honduras prison fire, huge task to identify victims. Honduras is beginning the grim task of identifying the victims of a prison fire that killed more than 350 people. As forensic experts work to recover the charred corpses from the jail in Kamayagua, hundreds of relatives remain desperate for news. The government has promised a full investigation and accepted that the entire prison system needs reform. More than half the inmates at Kamayagua were on remand or held suspected gang members, AP news agency says. AP obtained an internal Honduran government report sent to the United Nations that detailed conditions in the Kamayagua prison. The report said there were some 800 prisoners in jail, built for 500, and only 51 guards by day and just 12 by night. The report said that there were 800 prisoners in a jail built for 500 and only 51 guards by day and just 12 by night. Tuesday's fire, which broke out at night, destroyed large parts of Kamayagua complex. With a number of dead past 350, it is the world's worst prison fire in a century. Survivors said inmates had tried to save themselves by jumping into showers or sinks. I woke up with all that screaming from my fellow inmates who were already breaking the wood and sink ceiling, one survivor said. Bodies are being sent to the mortuary in Tegucigalpa for formal identification. Many are so badly charred that dental records and DNA will be needed. Syria crisis, China sends senior envoy. China says it's sending a senior envoy to Syria in a bid to find a peaceful resolution to the country's crisis. Deputy Foreign Minister Zhai Jun will go to the capital Damascus on Friday. China was widely criticized for vetoing a UN Security Council resolution urging Syria's leader to step down. The UN General Assembly will vote later on Arab-sponsored resolution condemning the Syrian government. Rights groups say some 7,000 civilians have been killed there since March. The resolution also backs Arab League plan calling for President Bashar al-Assad to hand power to his vice president. The measure cannot be vetoed in the Assembly, but the resolution would be non-binding. Ahead of the vote, the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called on Syrian authorities to stop killing civilians and said crimes against humanity might be taking place in the country.
China stands beside the gangsters of Assad against the Syrian people. The Syrian people have been killed and massacred. Where is the UN? Where are the international human rights organizations? Syrians are killed and bombed by China's war jets and weapons. China today supports the Assad regime to quell the peaceful Syrian protesters.
We'll move on to the business world. General Motors unveils record profits for 2011. US car maker General Motors have made record profits in 2011 but unveiled huge losses in its European operations. The firm made a profit of $7.6 billion over the year, up 62% from 2010. However, it lost $700 million in Europe, which includes its UK Vauxhall plants in Ellismore Port and Luton, and made $100 million loss in South America. The firm, which faced bankruptcy 2 years ago, saw sales rise 7.6% last year to more than 9 million vehicles. Much of its growth came from North America, where profits more than tripled to $7.19 billion in 2011. GM has announced it would give up to $7,000 each in bonuses to 47,500 eligible workers across the world, compared with $4,300 a year ago. In 2008, the firm filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection and received a $50 billion bailout from President Barack Obama's administration, with the US government now owning 32% of the firm. In the UK, the firm has about 4,500 staff, making the Vauxhall Astra van estate hatchback models. General Motors Chief Financial Officer Dan Ammann said, "Behind the scenes, we are working hard to eliminate complexity and costs throughout the organization to increase margins in all our regions and return Europe and South America to profitability." Welcome to World of Science. Slow walking predicts dementia. The speed someone walks may predict the likelihood of developing dementia later in life, according to researchers in the US. They also told the conference that grip strength in middle age was linked to the chance of a stroke. The scientists said more studies were needed to understand that was happening. Experts said the findings raised important questions, but more research was needed. Suggestions of a link between slow walking speed and poor health have been made before. A study published in the British Medical Journal in 2009 said there was a strong association between slow walking speed and death from heart attacks and other heart problems. A Journal of the American Medical Association study suggested a link between walking faster over the age of 65 and a longer life. And in sports, Olympic body Dow not to blame for India gas tragedy. The International Olympic Committee (IOC) had told Indian Olympic officials that Dow Chemical was not responsible for the 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy in any way. The IOC said it appreciated the Indian Olympic Association's (IOA) concern for the victims, but it added that Dow had no ownership stake in Union Carbide till 2000. Campaigners say the gas leak killed some 25,000 people. Dow is a top-tier sponsor for the London 2012 Olympics. The company merged with the Union Carbide Corporation, whose subsidiary Union Carbide India ran the Bhopal pesticide plant in 1999, and denies any liability for the chemical gas leak. As well as its sponsorship deal, the US-based company is funding £7 million fabric wrap for the Olympic Stadium in East London, which will be 900 meter long and 20 meter high. Indian NGOs working with the survivors of the gas leak and the IOA have repeatedly demanded that Dow Chemical should be dropped as one of the sponsors for the Olympics. A commissioner for a body monitoring the Olympics recently resigned over its links with Dow. Now the latest from the week that was. Libya marks anniversary of revolt which ousted Gaddafi. Libyans are marking the anniversary of the uprising that led to the overthrow of Colonel Muammar al-Gaddafi after his rule of more than 40 years. Celebrations are planned in towns and cities across the country and have been underway for days in the eastern city of Benghazi, where the revolt began. But the anniversary comes amid fears of continuing instability. Hundreds of militias are roaming the country unimpeded, and observers point to an institutional void in Libya. Libyan interim leader Mustafa Abdul Jalil on Thursday vowed to a tough response to anyone who threatened national security during Friday's celebrations. And before we close today's bulletin of news analysis, let's have a recap of the main points. Bangkok blast suspects targeting Israeli diplomats. West Bank crash, 8 Palestinian children killed. Former Olympus chairman arrested in accounting probe. Afghanistan's Karzai in Pakistan for talks with Taliban. Honduras prison fire, huge task to identify victims. Syria crisis, China sends senior envoy. And there we end today's bulletin of news analysis. Be with us in the coming weeks too. Thank you.